everyone. Welcome to the Conversational Passport. This is the podcast or channel, depending on where you're listening to it or watching it on, that takes you to new places through conversation. And I am your host, Chelsea Lanham. I wanted to put out an episode before I launched any episodes with guests so I could introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me, and where this idea of a podcast came from. So I live in LA, and like everyone else in the world, I have been on lockdown. And in LA, it's been really strict. Like I have family that lives in Florida, and it's like no rules there. And so I feel like they've been out of COVID for like half of COVID compared to the lockdown that we've had here in LA. Fortunately, that's beginning to lift and we're coming back to real life a little bit. But, during COVID, I found that my inner need to explore was being challenged, right? Like my favorite thing in the world to do is to go to new cities, go to new towns, discover new places. I love getting out of town with my boyfriend. I love doing girls' trips with my friends. I love going places by myself. Like I just like moving and seeing and experiencing. And with COVID, I couldn't do that like everyone else. So, I wanted to be happy during COVID. So I'm like, what can I do? I pretty much lived in this room that I'm sitting in. This is my office / gym. And I really just tried to explore new worlds within myself. I have always been someone who has many different interests. I feel like I'm like shiny object syndrome, like something sounds interesting. I want to know everything about it. And then something else comes along and I want to know a lot about that. I'm always reading like 5 books at one time because of this. And they're always on totally different subjects. And so through COVID, I just kind of re-engaged in that like hardcore. I read a ton of books. I can't even tell you how many books I read. So many different topics. I could list a few. I don't even know where to start. I read things about cadavers, LSD, near-death experiences. I love near-death experiences. You'll come to find that. The beauty industry, finance, fiction, nonfiction. I joined a book club. I read so much, and that's one of my favorite things to do. So that was a hobby I enjoyed doing more of. And then I was thinking about like, what are the things I've always wanted to do that I just didn't have time to do before? My job that I currently have, it's in real life, it was a traveling job. I traveled about 90% of the time all over the country. And so I didn't have a lot of time to do things like cooking classes or meditation retreats. And so I thought, you know what? I'm not traveling for work and I have the time to try these new hobbies. So I enrolled in a cooking class, not a class, but like a full-on course. It's a year-long course. It's primarily like plant-based eating. They have like a raw food section, which of course is very plant-based, but it's like no actual ovens or stoves. You're using the dehydrator, you're making things like kombucha, you're fermenting. So that's been an interesting experience. I don't know if it's totally for me. I love to cook, but I realized through this cooking class that converting things is just not the way my brain naturally works. Like it would say, get 50 grams of salt rather than saying like a teaspoon of salt. And so I would put way too much salt in something because my scale did not measure the salt correctly because it's so light. So the converting, that has been a new challenge for me. So if you have any tips, let me know. I try to Google it. I try to cheat and I'm like, I'm just going to Google how much 50 grams is equivalent to in salt. And it doesn't work that way. So that has been interesting. Other things that I got into was I did a weekend-long meditation retreat from home. So I did it with this guy named Muji, who I didn't realize when I took the course. He's kind of a big deal in the meditation world. He's like this Jamaican, sweet, not old man, but older, I guess. It just talks really calm and serenely. And I'm like, yeah, I'll have what he's having. So I did a week-long retreat with him. Not a week, it was 3 days. So a long weekend. And that was really interesting. I literally created this entire room to look like a Zen den. My boyfriend and I set up candles and flowers, and I had my blankets and my pillows out. And that was pretty cool. And I'll tell you guys more about all of that in other episodes, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of where this podcast idea came from. Another hobby I got into was I really wanted a big butt. So when COVID first started, I'm like, yes, like I have all this time to work out and I've always wanted a big butt. So I'm going for it. I'm getting a big butt. And I was crazy. Like I would put on like whatever rap music, like WAP, like that was really big last year, like anything, old like 2000s music. Like I was just trying to get myself in that headspace, and I would just like work out and just picture my butt like growing and growing. But the problem is I was so obsessed with my butt that I didn't work really much else on the rest of my body. Like I would, but not to the same level as my butt. And so I'm naturally a thin person. Like I'm a little twiglet. Like I have no business having a huge butt, but I got the huge butt, but it looked absurd on my small body. Like people will actually ask me if my butt was fake. And in LA, that's not like the weirdest question because a lot of butts here are fake. But I was like, thank you for asking, because I'm very flattered that you think my butt is fake. But then I realized like they're asking that it's fake because it looks ridiculous. Like it doesn't look like it belongs on my body. So that came and went. But I will tell you, it stayed for a while because it took me about 6 months to get to this point. So I was determined. So if you ever want to know how to grow your butt, I'm your girl. I can tell you what exercises to do, what supplements to take, what else? Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. So I can tell you what worked for me. So anyway, towards the later half of last year, I was thinking, I have all of these interests and I feel like I'm always sharing them with my friends. And that is so much fun for me. And I realized through COVID, so many new doors had opened in my brain about other interests that I had, and I wanted to share them with you. I also selfishly wanted to talk to the experts and the authors of these books and these fields that I'm into. And so I thought, what a great way to get them to talk to me by having a podcast. But also, I wanted to make new friends, make more friends. I love the friends I have, but I thought, if I'm sharing my interest, then, maybe I'll connect with people that have similar interests. And even if we don't have the same exact interests, I love, like you've learned, learning new things. So if you ever have an idea, for a podcast episode, if there's something you want to learn about, I probably do too. So let me know if you want to be a guest on my podcast, if you have a story you'd like to share, or just wanting to chat, let's do it. Let's make it happen. There's no real rules here. That's really the most that I can tell you to expect, is that we're just here to have a good time. So I hope you enjoy, and I am going to post my podcast on Apple, Google. Does it go on Google? I don't know. I'm still going through that process. So I'm going to it's going to be available on all the channels. Let's put it that way. I'm also recording on video so I can put it on YouTube. And then I also have my Instagram, which is the confidential. Is that not the name of the conversation? Oh my God, you guys, I don't even remember the name of my own podcast. The Conversational Passport. Remember, because it's the passport that takes you to new places through conversation. And I'm saying this for me just as much as I am for you, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. So that is the name of my podcast, and that's how you can find it on all the platforms. So message me, DM me, let me know, and I will put all of this information in these show notes. So talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.